We already described the scapula part of the pectoral girdle. We already described the humerus part of the upper limb. So we are now able to understand the glenohumeral joint or glenohumeral articulation. So in here, we're going to describe the two articulating surfaces. In the scapula, the glenoid cavity, and on the humerus, the head of the humerus. They both meet together and they form a joint, the glenohumeral joint. And here in this image, it's cool because we can see in blue little colors the head of the humerus and the glenoid cavity of the scapula. Now look how shallow it is. It's a very shallow cavity that doesn't secure or doesn't offer too much stability to this joint. Uh, that makes this shoulder joint the weakest of the shoulders in the body, but the one with a greater range of motion. We can flex, extend, adduct, we can medial rotate, we can lateral rotate, we can circumduction, okay? But we can do all of these movements because the glenoid cavity is shallow, okay? So listen, look at this. How easy it is to slip the head of the humerus to slip off inferiorly and anteriorly out of the glenoid cavity. These locations, that's the word, the anatomical word that we use, or the clinical word. These locations or superior dislocations are not that common because see, the coracoid process and the acromion are stopping the humeral head to slip off superiorly. The same thing posteriorly. Yep, here. Posteriorly is not that common because the acromion is stopping the head of the humerus to move away posteriorly from the glenoid cavity. So the two most common type of dislocations are inferior and anterior. Now, movements. Let's describe the movements of the joint. And whenever we describe movements at any joint, any articulation, we need to describe the movement and we need to mention what is the articulation where the movement is happening, okay? And movements usually come in pairs, two colors, flexion, extension, two more colors, abduction, adduction, two more colors, medial rotation, lateral rotation, and in here, this is like a purple because we combine several colors to make one, and this is circumduction. These are the movements that are possible in this glenohumeral joint. Flexion, and these pair of movements are usually opposite movements, okay? So flexion, can you see? Here, okay, anterior surface, right? This is flexion of the arm. So with movements at the shoulder or movement at the glenohumeral joint, move the arm. I do not care how or what is the position of the elbow at that moment. I'm just concentrating right now in the movement at the glenohumeral cavity. So this is flexion, movement of the arm anteriorly. Extension is anatomical position. Hyperextension is when you move it backwards in the posterior plane, okay? Abduction is when you are abducted away from the body. Abduction, then adduction when you move it closer to your body, and then medial rotation. I'm gonna show you in my arms, is easier. Okay, so again, I'm gonna stand up. So this is flexion. Flexion, extension. My arm is the one moving and my shoulder is where the movement is happening. So this is extension. Hyperextension. Flexion, extension, hyperextension. Frontal view, look, this is abduction, abduction, when you are moving the arm away from the body. And this, when you bring it down, again, this is adduction. Medial rotation is better seen when you have your elbow is flexed. This is flexion of the elbow. Okay, so this is medial rotation when you move it towards the midline of your body, medial rotation, and this is lateral rotation. Medial rotation, lateral rotation. Circumduction is a combination, a potpourri of these movements: flexion, extension, abduction, and adduction. So in a circumduction, you first flex. It's like you're gonna draw a circle with your hand, okay, with your arm. So first you flex, then you abduct, then you extend, and you adduct. That is circumduction. And those are the movements at the glenohumeral joint. See ya!